Hello everyone and welcome to our circle Anne Salve women. For this video, I'm going to be talking about my article, The Sacrifice of Silently Working Out Your Truths. Now, it's entitled that because truly as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter, just so many pieces of you that you really know it's just you working out you still, and to the very end, and just recently, and I don't recall again sharing this in my article, but someone at work had just asked me, one of the paras had asked me, what is your favorite Disney character? And with just a quick thought, I always say that what comes out of your heart typically is what you were really feeling and knowing. And I thought about Maleficent, and Angelina Jolie did portray such a good mother in that movie, and where your daughter believes, Aurora, I believe was her name, believing this, what others were saying about her, and you just keep to your truth. And I end this article in really understanding this is love, because sometimes you don't need to speak of your truth. There's no need for it, because you're silently still trying to work it out for yourself. And you just know that as long as you truly love, then you cannot ask to be loved back. And it's just such an amazing character, Maleficent, because to me, here you are deep inside carrying all of your truth, and you're still trying to heal from it, and you're still trying to figure it all out for yourself as to why did it happen, and you're trying your best to not be bitter, and people probably see the bitterness, and yet you have to move forward. There's this goodness in you, this innocence in you, this happy light in you that unfortunately was then triggered to very painful moments to have to endure. And yet those that you truly love, that who should really understand where you're coming from, are the least to understand. And so my mama used to say, silence speaks louder than words, and I get that now. I'm not saying that I am one of those that keep my mouth shut at all times. I do believe, regardless of what people may think, of always remaining quiet or being the quietest in the room. I don't essentially think that's true either, because I know at staff meetings, if I want to stay awake, I'm going to keep talking, and that's just how it is. If you want to converse with people, as long as you can own to your own truth, and you know that what is coming out of your mouth is for you to hold yourself accountable for, and you take responsibility of what you state, then you are who you are. And so there are moments where I don't want to talk, and there are moments when I do. And and that's just the part of life, of embracing who you are as a person. And depending on what environment you find yourself in, you then decide how you want to be. Because sometimes you can't, I've learned to code switch all my life, being a female, a minority, low income. And then there were times when I got to see how it was to be in a limelight of people who did flourish, whether it was financially or just powerfully, or, enlightened with just great knowledge and wisdom and so forth. You take in those moments, and you realize these are parts of your repertoire to build up truly your character for the rest of your life. And then asking yourself, were those examples of who to be or who not to be? Were those examples of what to do or what not to do? And in this article, in speaking of, again, the sacrifice of silently working out your truths, I had three brothers, and I say had because there was one, my brother John, who really impacted me. And it's not to say that my other two don't have great characteristics about them. I mentioned that my oldest, my goodness, is just like very bright man who knew how to play chess before he even knew his ABCs. I remember him telling me, I thought this amazing. And it wasn't hard to believe, because this man started college when he was 16. And unfortunately, he didn't get to finish But, here he carried so much of uh, just knowledge, and I could see it and sense it. And, there's just some people that when they speak, they speak, and that they have that witticism. And then the other one who's like multifaceted with talents. And, there's just those moments where you go, okay, I'm thankful for, being a part of that and seeing that in those whom I love. And with my brother John having passed away, I was quite young. I think I was about 10 years old. And my recollection, one of my very last recollection of him was Mother's Day. He was always so thoughtful. Gosh, just, I remember coming to America and he realized that it was my parents' birthday. I kid you not. And I didn't mention this in my article, but he found some like velvet type of cardboard and he etched. Just amazing. He etched this like artwork on there and made it into a card and gave it to them because we were living in my grandmother's house and you found what you found. And so I just, goodness gracious, like I just thought, what a phenomenal type of talent where you could just do that. And when you're surrounded by stuff like that, I'm grateful for my papa who didn't really give us gifts and made us create things, because then all of a sudden you just dig into your mind and you don't realize the things you can do. And so I attribute to that, because I realize now I love to create things. I love to really think about the things that I could make and invent and so forth, how I could make the world better. And it's amazing when you think to yourself, just like the book that I'd read in the past, we do things differently. It's like, ask somebody who has no choice but to succeed. It's amazing stuff. Anyhow, coming back to that, I remember Mama just sitting there crocheting as she normally did, and my brother going behind her and giving her this card. And when she opened up the card, there was $3. So she's holding the $3 as she's reading the card. And I remember my brother John saying, Mama, these $3 I don't have much, but these $3 are priceless, or is a very meaningful message, and that it should stand, and for you to remember that I love you, the 3 words I love you. And I remember sitting there, and it's funny how you don't think anything of it until you lose the person. And it still stuck with me for so long, because then you learn to be creative with your messages as well. Again, people really impact you in the most positive ways when you look back and go, oh my goodness, I got that idea from him, and so forth. Not that I copied that exact same type of just creative way to have a heartfelt moment with my mom, but at the same time realizing that you don't have to have much to really show how much you care about someone. And having lost him during that time, that summer, I then realized that when we have pictures in our home, like those individual pictures, portraits, or whatever, it's always from someone who's passed away. My dad's brother, my mom's mother, then eventually, to the sadness of my family, our brother. And it wasn't something that I wanted to really take into effect of like, oh, that's, just veer away from drama. When you've been around drama, you don't sit there and use your life as an example of why everyone should be crying in the world and feeling sorry. You don't want pity. So I realized that it was just something I held in quietly to myself. And so when my husband, right away before we even got married or even had our first child and we were starting to date, his biggest thing was, let's take a portrait together. And he loved that, and we went to a professional portrait place and had our portrait. And it's interesting because I realized that for me it was his happiness, and I was just like, okay, sure, why not? I didn't even really try. I didn't dress myself up, and I just came from work, my hair, I did this on purpose because I think I recall this is what I did when we took the pictures, somewhat similar, probably just put a clip on, and I don't even remember looking right into the lens, and just one of those moments where I was just thankful to see him smile in a picture. And that was the very first one together, aside from like those booths where you take a picture and so forth. And so it started from there, and ever since then I realized I had to push through when, in creating family pictures with my family. And ever since then it just became that yearly thing, and gave him so much pride to see our family growing. But I never shared with him that deep inside I actually had this fear of, thinking to myself, wow, in the back of my head, people who have passed have had pictures put up of themselves. And so I was able to do like family pictures, but you can't explain to your children why you would just look at their school picture and just feel so much joy inside, and look at their individual pictures and just smile and think to yourselves, and look at all the similarities that they carry from their dad or me, and just then put it away, because it was hard for me. I don't recall ever. If I did, I must have pushed through. I didn't think anything of it, of just individually putting in a portrait of my children individually. I think it's amazing when you go to people's homes and they have individual portraits of their children, and I just think, goodness, this is extraordinary work where they have it from like kindergarten on up. And I just knew that was not going to be something that I had the heart and the mind and the body and the spirit strength to really do, and neither did I ever want to. And so this is the same thing with the gifts, because it always brings me back to when my brother had given that $3. You looked at it and you think to yourself, like, these aren't things that you're going to share with people, like, oh, I'm really happy to have these gifts, but I don't want to tell you and show you because deep inside I'm afraid to lose you. Those aren't things you share with people you love. You just somehow do your best to be thankful, and that you're not overjoyed. You're not just sitting there exclaiming your great joy for the materialistic things you get, because I know that they put love and work into it. The greatest gifts that I have is coffee maker that my children gave me. Still to this day I use it, and all the letters have taken off, and I look up online and rewrite it every time the letters start to come off. In this apron, I've told those stories, and it's tough, because for me, you can't explain that to your children. You can't sit there and say, by you giving me this, does this mean that you're going to leave? Does this mean that I'm never going to see you again? Because those are the things that start to embed into your mind. It's like, what does this mean? And, just those moments where you start to really get to know who you are as a person, and you're fighting through that, because that's darkness that's starting to go into your mind. And you tell yourself, you're acting as if you don't care, but you really are training them to just let you go, so that if it were you to be gone, then they wouldn't miss you so much, that you are rigid, that you are hard, and that you are tough. And then that way they're like, I can't wait for this one to be, gone. And then therefore all of a sudden, they aren't so much in pain of losing you. Because to this day, having lost my brother John and having lost my papa, there are those moments where you say to yourself, I've got to train myself to be a little bit more of hard to get along with, perhaps, and in that way it won't be so hard to for other people to miss you. And that's the important piece that I've learned is, when you really are that way, you start to train yourself that way. And yet then you get to a point, you go, hold on, by me hardening my heart, does that mean that then I'm allowing myself to step out of the light? And am I enjoying the moments? And am I cherishing the moments? And so I learned to cherish the moments with my children. I learned to cherish the moments with my husband. And I pretty much closed my door outside of that. Like, if I allowed other people into my life, it was because I felt like maybe my children need more than my husband and I. Maybe there's more that I am not giving. And it was for the sacrifice for my children, and for, my spouse and I, to my husband and I, to really truly, at least for me to feel like, we're giving it our all here. And I have to fight against any darkness that I'm thinking of. It's like this fear, because those are strong words to really be fearful of losing. And I had to stop those dreams. I had to stop all of those bad thoughts of thinking, what if I'm going to lose my children? What if I lose my dear husband? Those are so dear to you. And then you have to just go, it's okay, because I'm going to give them my all during the time that I'm with them. And tit for tat, no matter what happens, we've shared some really joyful moments, and that's all that matters. And so with the pictures, so grateful that we've taken them. It is still to this day my husband's greatest joy to look back at all of those pictures, and he's grateful that I put in all that work to get all of their clothes ready and have those moments where we were so joyful in the portrait studio and just having giggles and laughter taking those pictures. When I see those pictures now, those are the memories that I can recall. I can think back to and go, oh my goodness, I remember this one because we were all laughing and giggling. And, those are things I can take in now. And with the gifts, it's like I look and I go, oh my goodness, I don't think they'll ever understand how thankful I was. And it's okay. I realize that we are who we are, and you cannot look back and go, oh, I should have done better. It was all right, and just now as I'm growing, in owning me and getting to know more of who I am and how I want to stand to be me, I'm okay with saying, you know what, yes, you had some fears in the back of your mind in the past, and yes, you are going to have some fears in the near future and at the moment, but you know how to work those through. You know how to fight through that, and then to just keep going with the faith, keep going with the joy, and enjoy the moments that you are given. As my former colleague used to say, and I think Joan Rivers was the one who's quoted for this. I'm not sure who is to own this quote, but when they say that the present is today is a gift, and that's why they call it a present. I get that so deeply now. And so with the pictures, they'll continue, and then with the gifts, they'll continue, and I'm gonna be grateful for every one of them. And no matter what it is, whether it be $3, it'll be priceless, and whether it be a pearl necklace, that'll be priceless too. But it was the purpose for it, and the letters and the notes, every little thing, the drawings and the crafts, every little thing. It'll mean so much when I look back and go, I remember that time. And I'm working toward just fearlessly accepting every moment. And you should as well, because you can look back and go, I was there, I lived it, and I felt it. So in the words of my mother, God bless us all. The sacrifice of silently working out your truths, it's okay. It is okay if we all have certain fears and we have our reasons. We don't have to get dramatic about it. We can just embrace them and say, you know what, this is why I am who I am, and yet I'm growing from it, and I'm better and stronger from it all. Have a great day, everyone. As the words of my mother, God bless us all, and we will see you next time.